Good afternoon. It's September 7th, and this is episode 7 of Rob Explains, your daily podcast discussing and explaining cool, random, and interesting things. I'm Rob. Thank you for joining me. Today is a holiday in the United States. It's Labor Day. So I thought we would take a step aside and do a special topic and talk about Labor Day. Now, for most people, Labor Day marks the end of summer. It's our last opportunity to break out the barbecues, to go poolside, have some drinks, and share some downtime with friends. It's the last of the Monday off holidays that we typically celebrate over the summer. Of course, summer is marked with Memorial Day as the opening, the 4th of July as the midpoint, and Labor Day as the end. But this holiday actually goes way back further than you might imagine, and it has roots in something a little more serious than barbecues and poolside hangouts with friends. In the early 19th century, people were generally working 6+ days a week. For the most part, if you worked in a factory, you would work Monday through Saturday, only have Sunday morning off to go to church, and then come back and work again on Sunday afternoon. That means that you were essentially working 70, 80, maybe even 90-hour weeks. But in the early 1800s, they were making movements to try and shorten or limit the number of working hours that was considered full-time. The first move was to make all of Sunday a day of rest, as the Bible says. And as the 1800s progressed, there were movements, of course, to shorten that day even further. Everyone was looking for a 10-hour workday rather than a 12 or 14-hour one. And eventually they'd look for an 8-hour workday. They were looking to get down to a 5-day work week, or at least a half day on Saturday, not a full day. And all through the 1800s, there were struggles all across the industrialized world. But the United States was a center for labor disputes. While there was a short reprieve for the Civil War in the 1860s, after the 1860s closed and the 1870s began, the labor movement began again in earnest. Most of this action was taking place in coal mines in West Virginia and Pennsylvania. This, of course, because coal was a necessity for heating and lighting. So by striking in a coal mine, you could actually cripple the entire economy. And that allowed them to have some sort of power and maybe get those advancements they were looking for. But all across organized labor in general, there were general strikes all through the 1870s and 1880s. In 1883, the city of Chicago organized the first citywide general strike, and it was to take place on May the 1st of 1883. The entire city, all hourly paid workers, struck, well, nearly all. But hundreds of thousands of people walked off the job on May the 1st, and they didn't return to work. Instead, they went out in the streets and they protested for an 8-hour workday and a shortened work week. On May the 4th, these protests ended in violence with what has come to be called the Haymarket Riot, but really more likely should be called the Haymarket Massacre, or perhaps the Haymarket Uprising. But police and workers faced off in Haymarket Square in Chicago, and some bombs were thrown, some bullets were fired, some people died. But May the 1st has been embraced the world over as May Day, a workers' holiday, a day for all international workers to stand together and show that they have the power. In the words of Karl Marx, this would be a day for the proletariat. But May Day has never really caught on in the United States. Obviously, when I can quote Karl Marx about a holiday, and I say the word proletariat, you can imagine that it's not something that's going to be super popular in post-World War II United States. Obviously, everything socialist and communist is bad. But we have an alternative here in the United States, and that is, of course, Labor Day. Labor Day, the first Monday in September, is not a celebration of the international power of workers or even the national power of workers standing together. It's a celebration of workers and what they have given to the U.S. economy. So essentially, it is a reward. Thank you for making our economy strong. Here, enjoy a day off. But the earliest history of Labor Day comes from the 1930s, and there is a bit of controversy over who came up with the idea of Labor Day. Was it Peter McGuire, the founder of the New York City Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners? Or was it Matthew McGuire, a representative from the Machinist Union? And of course, the early Labor Day celebrations weren't about barbecues and relaxing. It was about protesting and marching. And there are pictures from early Labor Day parades that rival those of May Day. But over time, the protesting, the violence even, was relegated to May Day, while Labor Day became a day for relaxation. And because of that, Labor Day was the one that was embraced by the U.S. Now, there is a misunderstanding that Labor Day is a day off for everyone, and that is not true. Labor Day was first embraced by New York, Colorado, and 12 other states, and they passed local legislation allowing for a local holiday in their state to allow workers to have the day off. Later, that was embraced by federal legislation, creating a national holiday of Labor Day. But that only applies to federal workers. If you have Labor Day off, you can thank your local government body, whether that's your city or your state, even your locality, but they decided that you should have off Labor Day, and that is why you have the holiday off. And despite being a national day of rest, a holiday for relaxation, keep in mind that not everyone has off Labor Day. And in fact, whether it was Peter McGuire or Matthew McGuire who founded Labor Day, I am sure that they would be upset that some of the lowest paid workers in our country are actually working on Labor Day. So while you sit around with your friends having barbecue and enjoying the pool and the heat, stay safe. Los Angeles, where I'm located, is having a bit of a heat wave right now. But also keep in mind the thousands upon thousands of people who marched and some who died so that we could enjoy not only just this one day off, but an 8-hour workday, a 5-day work week, 2 weeks of vacation, and benefits like healthcare and other things that our ancestors who marched and fought for those protections were never granted. Let's make this Labor Day a day of remembrance and a day of thanks. Because no matter who envisioned Labor Day, they put it at this part of the year for a reason. Because at that time in our country, the only days you got off were Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, and 4th of July. So this was a nice break between 4th of July and Thanksgiving. One day, we're thankful for our country. The last, we're thankful for the blessings of God in our lives. And in the middle, we're thankful for everyone who provides those daily products and services that keep us going. And in these trying times where pandemic and shutdowns are going across the country and across the world, it's especially good for us to take a moment and say thanks to all the people who have kept us going through this time. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Rob Explains. Look for new episodes daily wherever you listen to podcasts, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. Do you have a subject you'd like me to cover, or just looking for more Rob Explains? Find us online on all social media at Rob Explains. Got a comment, question, or query? Or did I get something wrong and you want to correct me? Shoot me an email, rob@robexplains.com, or you can leave a comment down below. I'll check those right after the show goes live. And you can send me a message, anchor.fm/RobExplains/message. And in the form of a voicemail, I can actually include it in a future episode. Once again, thank you for joining me. Until next time, this is Rob. Take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great day.